All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about something that's casting some very long shadows across the globe, the tense standoff between the United States and Iran.
So, let's just cut to the chase, right? This is the big question on everyone's mind. You see the headlines, you hear about all the military movements. Are the US and Iran actually heading for a real war?
Well, the short answer seems to be no, at least not a full-scale war. Not yet, anyway. What we're actually seeing is something way more complicated, kind of murky, really. It's what experts are calling a shadow conflict.
Okay, so what on earth is a shadow conflict? To really get a handle on that, we've got to rewind a bit. Because, this tension didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's been brewing for decades.
And this timeline, wow, it really lays it all out. The whole thing kicked off in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution. I mean, that just changed everything. Overnight, the US and Iran went from being allies to bitter rivals. And for the next few decades, they fought these indirect battles, these proxy wars, in places like Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. And that brings us right up to today, in 2026, where things are, well, they're at a boiling point again.
So let's jump back to the present. What does this shadow conflict actually look like right now, on the ground?
Yeah, this isn't your classic war with clear front lines. Instead, what you've got is this buildup, a much bigger military presence in the Persian Gulf. The US is sending in its advanced naval fleets. And Iran, they're beefing up their missile systems in response. But a lot of the fighting is invisible, It's happening in cyberspace, with intelligence ops, and just a constant back and forth of political threats.
Okay, so here's the core idea. Think of a shadow conflict as this incredibly high-stakes chess match. Both players want to show their strength, to make moves, to win, but neither one wants to knock the whole board over. That would be a catastrophic all-out war. So instead, they fight indirectly, through other players on the board, through cyber attacks, through political maneuvering. It's all about pressure without that final devastating confrontation.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why does this matter to me? I'm thousands of miles away. And that's a fair question. The thing is, the ripple effects from this conflict, they can travel all over the world.
And this chart really shows what's at stake for all of us. The biggest worry? A massive spike in oil prices. That's a huge chunk of the pie right there. Then you've got the very real possibility of major global trade routes getting completely messed up. And of course, there's the chance, a pretty significant one, that this whole thing could just spiral out of control and pull the entire region into a much bigger crisis.
And that risk to trade? It all comes down to this one spot on the map, the Strait of Hormuz. It might look small, but this little waterway is one of the most critical shipping lanes on the entire planet. It's a major choke point, and it's smack dab in the middle of this whole standoff. If something happens here, believe me, the global economy will feel it almost instantly.
All right, so let's talk firepower. How do these two countries actually stack up against each other, militarily?
When you look at them side by side, it's not as simple as it looks. On one hand, you have the United States with its massive, high-tech military. We're talking aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, a global network of bases. It's overwhelming. But then you look at Iran. They have their own kind of power. They've got huge influence in the region, some seriously advanced missile systems, and they know the local geography like the back of their hand. They're playing a totally different kind of game.
And that game has a name. It's called asymmetric warfare. This is Iran's playbook, right here. It's all about how a less powerful military can take on a superpower. You don't fight them head-on. No, you use clever, indirect tactics to level the playing field. So don't picture big tank battles. Instead, think about them using proxy groups in other countries, or sending out swarms of small, fast boats to harass a giant aircraft carrier. It's all about finding and exploiting the weaknesses of a bigger, more conventional opponent. Okay, so with this delicate, complex balance of power, where does this all go? What happens next?
Well, our analysis points to three possible futures. First, there's the best-case scenario, de-escalation. Diplomacy works, everyone takes a step back, and things calm down. The second possibility is basically more of the same. This shadow conflict just keeps simmering along, maybe for years. And then there's the third path, the one nobody wants. That's direct war. It would probably be triggered by some kind of mistake, a miscalculation, an incident that spirals out of control.
Right now, the smart money is on that second scenario, the continued tension. It seems like both sides really do understand just how catastrophic a real war would be. But, and this is a huge but, the whole situation is walking on a tightrope. It is so incredibly fragile. A single mistake,
One wrong move could literally change everything in the blink of an eye.
And this quote really sums it all up perfectly. What we're seeing right now is a dangerous balance, where both sides are showing power but trying to avoid full war. It's a perfect description. It's a high-wire act, and there's absolutely no safety net below.
And so that leaves us with a final, pretty unsettling question. In a shadow conflict like this, where the attacks are deniable and the rules are, well, there are no rules, how does anyone know when a line has actually been crossed? At what point do you realize you've accidentally stepped out of the shadows and into the blinding light of an actual war?